David C. Hinkel. When I was on the Spinax, I was in 2SS. I had split service, went back in 76, retired as lieutenant commander. I went from Great Lakes up to Groton, Connecticut. That was an amazing experience. We were taught a lot of basics, and you knew what to expect once you got on a boat. You were given the basics, and the biggest thing I can think of is that you get along and you have camaraderie because you are a small space, tight group. Either you get along or you get out. So, and that was no problem for me because I'm kind of a jokester. So a real good basic situation, going through the escape tower. You talk about blowing your eardrums. It was the pressure change. You were learning pressure change, how to deal with that. I'm a scuba diver, love water. I've been a swimmer most of my life, so I was going, this is fun. We had to jump off a tower and into the pool, and just taught basic survival skills in the water and what to expect when you got on the boat. It was the Spinax, USS Spinax out of San Diego, and again, I'm just an EN2, and I was, well, I wouldn't say scared, but I was like excited, but also nervous. I mean, I'm going to my first sub, my first ship, and I could say I was welcomed with open arms. And it was like, oh boy, another engineman, that's what we need. And like I said, the guys got me in, got one of the worst racks because I was an E2. So you get the bottom of the barrel in the main after battery passageway where people stood when they got ready to go. But I had my own rack, so I didn't complain. And he said you can't turn over. I had to really cock my shoulders to roll over, but we're all a little thinner back then. The qualification, that was one of the first things you got, were your qual card. And the first 2 weeks, you're pretty much, everybody's telling you how to, what to, taking you under their wing. The older guys, they may have been on there a month longer or a year longer. Everybody took the new person, me at that point in time, and guided me through. The qualifications, you did what your work, whatever your work was for the day, and then all your qualifications was on your own time. And you studied, you read, you learned every valve, every wire, every switch, and it was just a very interesting learning curve. Most of the guys, if you were there and you wanted to do it, you qualified. There were very few people washed out. First thing, I was just again an E2 and went up to Hunters Point Shipyard for about a month's worth of maintenance, and I did my mess cooking in the shipyard, which was kind of nice. We came back to San Diego. We prepped for heading to WestPac, and luckily I had enough time that I made E3, so I was happy about that. And I was ahead on quals, so I studied a lot, tried to get ahead as much as I could. We were out to sea for 2 weeks, and anytime we were out to sea, you could work a little harder and get a little farther ahead. That 2 weeks to Pearl Harbor was neat. We pulled into Pearl Harbor. You were ahead of quals, you got liberty. If you weren't, you didn't get liberty. So they put the carrot and stick, and I'm always going after the carrot. So staying ahead of the game was very important. And from there we went for a couple more weeks to Yokosuka, got even farther ahead on the quals. So we were over in WestPac for about 6 months, and it was kind of nice throughout the whole time, staying ahead of the game, enjoying the ports. Manila, Singapore, Hong Kong. Just, they were all fun, and it's like you tried not to spend much money in each port. And as a matter of fact, Doc over there, our chief corpsman, I would give him money to put in his locker so I wouldn't spend it. Because when we got back into Yokosuka, got my dolphins, I qualified, drank them, which they don't let you do anymore, and I bought my first motorcycle in Yokosuka, Japan, because Doc hung on to the money, and for $310 I got a brand new Honda 305 Dream, and put it on the C-van, and Lieutenant, the engineering officer, who was my boss, said, "If your motorcycle breaks my china, I'm gonna kill you." And it didn't. Everything made it. The C-van was on the Kitty Hawk. Came back a month later. They put it on the pier. We all were like feeding frenzies with stereo equipment. I just wanted my motorcycle. And it came through unscathed. Put a little oil in it, put a little gas in it, took off. So it was fun. Good overseas, good 6 months. We had some interesting experiences. Played cat and mouse with a red Chinese destroyer. We're down to almost flat batteries. And my job was a trim manifold and been on battle stations for long. So I'm stuck back in this little hole behind the stern planesman. And it was hot, and I'm drifting off a little bit, and Lieutenant Pope was a diving officer, and he hollered back, "Pump forward, trim to sea." And I'm back there snoozing a little bit. "Trim manifold, pump forward, trim to sea." And I wake up. He said, "Damn it, boy, we're at war, we're at war." I jumped up, banged my head. It was like, oh my God. "Sir, I'm sorry." So I did what he asked, and then I sat back down, my eyes were open. It's like, don't ever fall asleep while you're on, especially the trim manifold. But we'd been down for about 50 hours, and the batteries were getting flat. We made it out. So that was probably one of the fun things. Not so fun, but interesting. Spinax, the camaraderie was amazing. The boat with a heart, because you've got the core, which is the boat, and the crew make it up, and it had a heart. The boat had a heart, which is everybody that was on it. We all got along. We watched out for each other. Just an amazing boat with a heart.